In this video, we're going to go over how you can kind of keep track of your grade. So when you first get into Edgenuity, you're going to see the grade bar here. It will tell you your overall grade. Your overall grade is how you're doing on the things you have actually submitted. Okay, so it's just going to give you the average of coursework that you have completed, what your grade would be on those items. This doesn't take into account whether you have been submitting things late, or if you are ahead in the course. It doesn't keep track of that. It's just telling you how you're doing on things you have submitted. You'll see an actual grade. Here it's not available. I'll show you an example where it shows it. But you'll see an actual grade of how you're actually doing in the course. It does take into account if you are behind. So if you are behind in your course, that actual grade is going to start going down, and you need to be concerned and start to figure out what you need to do to get back on track. Notice, keep in mind the pacing video that you can look at of how you can use your assignment calendar for that. But this will kind of give you an idea of how your grade's going to start falling if you are behind in your course. Just like if you're behind in class, you're not keeping up, your grade starts to suffer. So one of the places you can also look to just get more of a breakdown of your grade is you can go to your organizer, you go to reports, and then you can actually look at a progress report that you have inside Edgenuity. You'll have to click on your course that you want to look at, click update, and then again, it'll show you this progress bar, it'll show you the overall grade, it'll show you the relative grade, as well as your actual grade. So we just talked about actual grade. The relative grade is what your grade would be if you stopped right then and there and didn't complete anything else. So if you get part of the way in this course and then you just decide to fall off the wagon and not submit anything else, that would be your grade. Okay, so it kind of just shows you what it would be if you dropped out of the course at that time. It'll show you this breakdown here, so it shows you the assignments that, or any of the things you have done in Edgenuity. So if you've done additional assignments, quizzes, it shows you how many you've done of each. It'll show you the total that are in the course. So in that 6 weeks, you have 3 total additional assignments here, 48 assignments, etc. And then it'll show you how you're doing on those as an average. So you're averaging on your assignments this amount, you're averaging on your quizzes this amount. It'll show you your test average, your lab average. And then it shows you how much they're weighted, how big of a part of your grade they are. So you'll notice your tests are a big portion of your grade. So make sure you're ready when you take them. Your quizzes are a big portion of your grade. Your assignments are not. And this is your practice assignment. So where you're like, it's just like kind of like homework you would do in a normal classroom doing problems. Well, it's practice. So it's not a huge chunk of your grade, because I want you to be able to practice it. And if you're getting something wrong, well, then that's when you need to contact me or keep looking at your video or whatever you need to do, trying to get that extra help before you take your quiz. Okay, you need to make sure you're ready for it. And just to show you another example of what it would look on the reverse side, a student who's not completing work and not doing as well in the course, this is what the completion bars would start to look like instead. So the grade bar changes. It would be squares for you. On my end of looking at a student, it looks like this, but it would be those little squares. So it'll be in a different color. It'll start to get orange and red if you're failing. And then it'll tell you those actual grades, the relative grades. So again, the relative grade is if you were to drop out right then. So if this student just stopped and didn't take anything else, they would get a 21 in the course. Okay, the actual grade is how they're doing based on their progress. So if you notice they're behind in this course, they're not on track, so they're at 44% completion. They're supposed to be almost done. So it's in red up here, and then their grade is suffering because they're behind. So even though they're averaging on their coursework is 66, still isn't very good, but because they're so far behind, their grade in the course would be a 33 currently. So now if we go back to the Edgenuity, if you also go back to reports, you can go to your scores and feedback. This will show you the individual assignments. It'll tell you if they counted. So there are certain things that don't count, like your instruction videos. Even though Edgenuity will tell you at the end, 100, you completed it, it doesn't actually count for your grade, right? But you do have to complete those videos to know what you're doing. And then there may be certain other little assignments that don't actually count, but here you can see if they counted and you can see the score you got on them. Now, you do need to keep in mind that if the system graded it, but say you turned it in late and I needed to deduct points because you're falling behind and it's late, this grade might change. So say the What Am I forum, yes, I submitted it, but it's late. So it's a few days late. I may have to take off, as a teacher, take off 20 points for it being late. And I would tell you that in the feedback. We'll talk about that again here in a second. Another reason would be that I would change a grade would be if somebody submits to me a quiz question or something like that that they didn't understand, and maybe I decide that as a whole I didn't think it was a good question, so I might bump everybody's grade by a certain amount. That wouldn't happen very often, but it's another possibility of how scores could change. So then if you want to actually look in and see the feedback, then you would click on, you can either click on the assignment or you can click over here where it says there is feedback to be read. It'll take you to the assignment, and then you'll have to click up here where that little pencil's at again, and it'll tell you the feedback. You know, and usually I'll try to keep it pretty brief, but I will try to point out what went wrong. Okay, and usually this will be in your forums. If I can notice a trend in your quizzes, I might be able to say something else on that, but usually that would take me being able to talk with you more. But if you're struggling with something and you keep not passing assignments, make sure you're contacting me and we're finding out the problem. So that just gives you an idea how you see it here in Edgenuity. Again, your main grades are going to be in home access. So make sure you're checking it. If you're ahead, your grades will look different here in home access because you're ahead of the game. So I'm only going to put in assignments that have been at their due date already. I'm not going to keep putting in your grades because you're so far ahead. I may be just a couple days behind. Obviously, when you submit something, it takes time for me to get it inputted. So keep that in mind as well. But whenever the 6 weeks is over, the two of them will match. Okay, so whenever you want to get out of this, you just hit power again, takes you back to your home screen, and that's pretty much it.